I'm ready to start. Start this meeting. It is a regular council meeting of Monday, December 6th, 2021.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Say that real fast in the last meeting. Why did you do so short?
No, we
Never
sang.
mind. Never mind.
The only thing that was different was
How'd you do a 20-minute meeting last time? Do that when I'm not.
because you weren't here, Roger.
Hey, you're wasting time.
Leslie, go ahead and roll call.
Mayor Laughlin,
Here.
Councilperson Sexton,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Dean,
Here.
Goodweiler,
Here.
Stillman.
Here.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So move.
In a second.
Second.
Do a voice vote on that?
You can just do a voice vote on it.
All those in favor say aye to approve the agenda.
Aye.
Before I get started, I want to thank everyone who was involved in Christmas past on another very successful weekend. Couple thousand people, 1,000 people each night-ish. So that was a good night. So thanks everyone, Melissa, Matt, and CDG for pulling that off once again, as usual. The consent agenda consists of the minutes of the November 15th regular council meeting, a Class C liquor license with Sunday sales privileges for Hazel Haskey, DBA Herb and Lou's, approve Gavin Hills as a volunteer firefighter, approve a Zumba instruction contract with Abby Nelk, approve an amendment of solicitation for snow removal services and intrusion alarm police response with the United States Department of the Interior and the National Park Service and the Herbert Hoover National Historic Site. And that's not a mouthful. And the claims for and the September monthly financial report, which Heidi has prepared. Give me a motion, someone. Jerry and Nick, second. My only question is with the national park, $8,500. That's for 1 year, right? But is it a 2-year contract?
I think it's a 5-year contract, so that's January 28th is your anniversary date. So the first year will be up on January 28th. So this is our contracting office is actually working ahead of schedule and getting it going for January 29th, 2022 for another year. So this will be year 2. You'll be approving year 2.
Okay. All right. A 2-page contract. That's nice.
It's unusual.
Unusual.
We can
Yeah.
make it long.
That's not even that much small print.
Yeah, we reduced the long.
Any other questions, comments on the consent agenda item? Hearing none, let's vote, Leslie, please.
Councilperson Sexton,
Yes.
Goodweiler,
Yes.
Stillman,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Dean.
Okay, communications open forum. Let me get my spot. Brad Lawson of KLM developers would like to address the council on a concept plan for Dawson Plaza across from the high school. So go ahead, Brad.
Does everyone have a?
That's this here in front of you guys.
So Scott with Progressive Rehab, he couldn't come tonight, so I'm just gonna kind of fill you guys in. This project is at the corner of Dawson and Main Street. Highway. It's the first 3 lots there, and it'll be one building divided into 4 units. So it'd be 4 condo units. Progressive Rehab is planning on having an office in there as well as a fitness rehab center. And then there'll be 2 open, approximately 1,500 square foot units for sale or for lease. Anybody have any questions, I guess, before we go on the layout or?
This isn't a gym with a basketball court. It's
No.
It's
Yeah.
exercise rooms.
Yeah, it's their fitness center, and then that fitness center will be open to the public 24/7 with membership fees. So they will use it as well as the community. We like to think of it as a community fitness center is what Scott's proposal is.
My own question is, do you believe that and that the rehab center is 2 handicap parking stalls now? I don't know. I personally would have put in more. I don't know how many patients or whatever they have coming in and out.
Brian with Action, he can be here tonight as well. So basically, this is just an informational presentation. Dave has been working with Brian. So, I mean, if there's something that needs to be done as far as parking, we're really tight on parking. We may ask for a variance of 1 space, 2 being short, but we've kind of discussed it. So if 3 handicap spots are required, then that's what we'll go with.
I don't know. Maybe they only need
It's
2 at a time. I
Set
don't
by
know.
a formula. There's a formula based on square footage.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
Oh,
or per number of parking.
okay.
So I'm sure it meets the formula.
And there again, if it, opens up and there's a need for more, it is convert one of them to a handicap. So this is not the final. This is pretty close though to what.
I didn't know there was a formula.
Yeah, that's set by the city. State, okay.
I mean, I love the concept. I love the idea. I love the location.
So there's not like a walking track inside?
There is not. We had
It's just,
proposed that concept, but it was just way too much money, so that he cut that out of his plans and trying to keep that 6,600 square feet, which will have some space that the city may be able to use for classes if they want to take some of those from the town hall. And then there's also another room that is back in that one corner too. That can be used for different things. There's a divider in there, so you can have a big room and 2 small rooms, I believe is what it's set up.
Roger, maybe I missed. You want to bring up the 70/30?
Okay, so the developer would like a TIF rebate on this building. Met last week, I guess it was. And at the time, I guess the model was kind of via Little Lights' model, 70% rebate. Time frame, I'm not sure. I would like to see some sort of dollar value cap, I guess. I know some of you like to see that. I don't know if without that, it kills the project.
Well,
I don't know.
that's what we had said, that we wanted to come get your ideas before we send it out for bid. We'd like to send it out for bid in the next week or so. And there again, once we get that bid back and the TIF rebate that would possibly be available, then we try to get the project going first part of the year, so.
Likely it'll be the 10% cap is what was kind of discussed. And then they're not looking necessarily for a vote, but a nod that it's okay to proceed forward with the special meeting and you guys are open to the proposal. So not necessarily a vote, yes, no, just kind of a nod that it's okay to go forward.
And we're probably looking at a $1.5 to $2 million project.
We did with Little Lights, we had, their estimate was 1.5, their tip was $15,000 a year, up to $15,000 a year, a cap of 150,000 for 10 years.
My concern is this, and I'm not opposed to TIFing this if we deem it necessary or it fits a criteria. But I think as a council, we need to come up with a criteria of what we will TIF and what we won't TIF. So as these developers keep coming up one by one wanting TIF help, we have something consistent that we can go off of that says this qualifies, this doesn't qualify. Then that way it's easy for us. And then there's no questions on favoritism or anything like that. It's cut and dry. Meets our criteria, we're willing to TIF it, or it doesn't, and you're on your own. But
Or a different formula.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, look, I think that's just, it's almost common sense. I mean, that you do something like that. I mean, as these developers keep coming up one by one, and they're all asking for something. I'm not saying that we shouldn't give them something, or we shouldn't try to work with them, but we got to have some kind of groundwork instead of just doing this by the seat of our pants.
How do you propose we do that, Paul?
I'm an idea man. Somebody else figures out that stuff. But, I mean, maybe we all sit down and decide, what is it we're wanting? Is it amenities that we're willing to help pay for to get, or is it jobs, or is it both, or,
affordability,
if
housing.
if it's a commercial deal, I mean, this is really commercial. Do we want to, we know we're struggling to get people to come and build commercial buildings here. So maybe is that what we do? If it's a commercial building that houses retail, I mean, I don't think we should be TIFing housing anymore. That ship sailed. I mean, people want to come here to live, and I don't think we should have to incentivize that anymore. I mean, we got rid of our housing incentive. We didn't feel like we needed to do that anymore. But for commerce buildings, maybe it's something we think about, but we need to come up with it so it's consistent. So, the next guy comes up.
I don't know, I kind of fit this in with Little Lights with this being a 24-hour fitness center for the community. It's given the community a service also, kind of like Little Lights. It's given the community a service of a venue for social gatherings. So,
Yeah, I think it fills a need. It fills a desire for
right,
the community.
right.
So if,
Potentially.
just for example, so if one of Chad's buildings is going to have a 24-hour fitness center in it too, then it qualifies for that. I mean,
Is it? I don't know.
I mean, if that's the reasoning we're using to qualify this, then that needs to be the, then they all.
That was the reason why I was gonna use it, but
We also have 3 business units there. Progressive is gonna buy the one and
Right.
hopefully, you know, we could have a medical or a dental, or insurance, or, you know, some professional medical type business. that would be- And there again, you know, you talked about jobs. How many, what's the job creation? It's not like it's gonna be just an empty warehouse. There's gonna be employees throughout those 4 condo units, so.
Right, I'm not saying I'm against doing this. I'm just saying that, you know, moving forward, we need to come up with some kind of a criteria to make this easier for the developers and make it easier for this council, to make it fair.
I agree.
My thought would be though is every situation may be a little different, that may need to be adjusted from a criteria that we come up with. So we kind of keep that in mind. Not everyone's gonna be cut and dry, I don't think. I mean, I'm not against having some kind of a parameters that we're trying to set for. But you know, not everyone's probably gonna be like a 70-30 either. It could be multiple ways of doing it. It could be a kind of like what P&G was, where they started out at 100% and they progressively got less over the years. I mean, that might be a better situation for certain things too. So. But for the qualification, we could
Right.
come up with something.
I think whatever fills a need for the community would be the top priority. Whether it's commercial space, low-income housing, affordable housing might be one, but I know what you're saying about that. Open space, top priority. Okay, not really getting a super feel for what they're thinking, but
I personally am willing to give the same thing that we did for Little Lights. That's me personally.
I would concur. I'd be looking at something.
so pretty warm consensus then, so. Get started on an agreement. I think. Right.
Pretty similar to the ones you see already, so I'm not gonna change the wheel.
With a
Reinvent the wheel, so.
Okay,
So can we get on the next council meeting then? Or we have to?
The development agreement would need, it's gonna take a couple months because we have to get,
Okay.
we can work on the agreement, but
Okay.
to get through the urban renewal project, we have to have the project. We have a bunch of other steps we have to do for that.
So we'll go bid it, come back with
We can,
approximate value and then.
yeah, I can send you, we can give you a draft that has blanks in it, but doesn't have your, Mike look at it or whatever you have to do, so.
Yeah, I guess one thing I would say is being just send it out for bids, which, I mean, you only got a preliminary bid right now, what it might cost. This thing might come in way over your budget and you might say,
Yeah.
No, everybody's
We'll
wasting
come back
time.
and update you. And
so,
see where we're at.
yeah, kind of see where you're at.
So would it be out of the realm of possibility? We're gonna give a TIF rebate on this. If they added the cost of the project, maybe they did some, whether it's crushed stone or asphalt, there's a walking trail that was graded around the park and the meadows there that hasn't been touched. You guys get where I'm going with
yeah, I
this?
know, yeah, I've kind of been kicking myself for not getting that finished by the developer.
Well,
I've often thought about that, but
I'm not gonna say to
He's not gonna tell you.
okay, I didn't know that.
But, maybe this is an opportunity
that where we could do something like that and get, tie this in. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily 70-30. Maybe we add them some TIF money so it gets paid for, but it gets paid for through TIF and it runs through this project. You know, if there's any way something like that can happen. I don't know, it's worth kicking around. Where at the end of the day, Brad, it wouldn't cost you anything. It would just be.
Get your money back.
You're only talking from Dawson around the basin to, or,
Don't know. I don't even know what it looks like.
okay.
I mean, we can look at it. I mean, but this would also tie into your fitness center and rehab. There's not a walking track, but you know, feed it across the street, walk around a little bit and come back and we'll check on you, you know? So kind of,
You sound like a therapist.
Don't have to cross Main Street.
well, not across Main Street. It was awesome.
If you don't come back, you know where they are.
Don't come
back. You're fine. Or
You gotta go dish 'em out.
Okay, thanks. We'll.
Yeah,
update.
thank you, Brad.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
And before we go any further, I'd like to introduce, were you here last time? You were not.
No.
So
Who's this guy over here?
Adam Copeland, everybody, our new city administrator. So thank you very much. Sorry,
Welcome, Adam.
to introduce you earlier.
We've all talked. to him a couple times.
Yeah. Pete Swisher. Herbert Hoover National Historic Site.
Didn't know you got out in 20 minutes last time, so I'll try to go fast tonight. It's been a while, and hopefully this is one of the last times you hear me talk about stormwater, right, for the park anyway, so it's been on our agenda for a long time, and it's nice to finally finish it up a little bit. So I wanted to go ahead and we can roll through that. We all know what that is. Those are the people that participated in it. So most of you know the park has been contemplating doing something for stormwater for 30 to 40 years, actually. So, but in 2004, even in some of our management plans, it was called for. We did an environmental impact statement in 2006. And then when this money started to actually look like it was going to come through for us to do the project, I asked for an EA to be done just to support the EIS because there was enough that had changed in regulations that it seemed like it was the environmentally responsible thing to do. So we did have an EA done with a finding of no significant impact done subsequent to that in 2019. So I feel pretty good that we completed that. We all know we're in West Branch. So so the watershed, just for those that most folks probably understand that the watershed we're talking with here is the southern part of it, or 40% of the total equation. So the northern part of the watershed is 60% of the total watershed. So our ability to have impact here is somewhat limited by numbers anyway. So you know, it's only so much water that's coming through this part of the watershed anyway. So, and those are some USGS numbers that you all have access to that just kind of shows the relative consistency depending on the year that the water was measured or the rainfall was measured. So we feel pretty sure that we've done a good job of right sizing the work that was done in the park. Fancy pictures. It water backs up, creates water or creates lakes, right? So that's the creek that you might remember, and then we'll get to what we have today or what we're striving to get to. So that's the underground sanitary sewer line that ran exposed under Downey Street Bridge, and that's just a little bit of debris. It would clog up and be completely covered. So you can imagine the amount of hydrologic pressure going against that sewer line in a storm event that we're very fortunate that didn't, and that's actually a coupling right there in the middle of it. So you know, we're lucky it didn't fracture. So keep going. So you have access to the model that USGS did, and in that model you'll see that there's a couple of floodplain restrictions. The first one on the left, where the Downey Street Bridge arrow,
goes, we replaced Downey Street Bridge, so that restriction is no longer there. It's a wider bridge there. And the second restriction is the, you see where the green line just barely sneaks through the blue line there. That's the old railroad embankment. So I know that's on your radar for future review. So that's where the water is, it's meeting those restriction points and starts to back up from that point forward. So originally, the component of our project involved just an on-channel detention basin, so an inline system, which is effectively a dam, and then stream channel improvements throughout the length of the park. Between the time of 2006 and 2019, when we were designing the project, the Department of Interior said, Department of Interior will build no more dams. So that plan was out the window right away. So we had to change the scope of our project, and you see it went from two components to 6, and I'll explain each one a little bit along the way. It's just a map that shows you where the detention basin is today and some of the major areas that we are going to improve, including the Hoover Creek Channel. And the purple line is actually the new sanitary sewer main that there's some paperwork yet coming your way. We have an agreement signed where we build the brand new main and then sell it to you for $1. So that paperwork will come probably around April-ish for you. So
Need your dollar now or?
no, well, we are good for it, Cole.
Talking into a lagoon, couldn't we?
So you can keep going. This is just a shape that we were showing, kind of this kidney bean shape of what the detention basin was going to evolve into, along with a couple of examples. The bottom example is probably more relevant to what we're hoping to see, which is something that will blend in with the prairie, so it won't be mowed. We'll be able to mow it. It'll be a low mow seed mixture, so if we need to mow it, we can mow it once or twice a year just to keep the woody debris out of it. But for the most part, we hope it blends with the prairie. So we went from the current channel condition 2 years ago now, or a year and a half ago now. They came in and Babe and his blue ox or whatever came through, and what's the story? But they came in and they chopped out all the trees. We lost about 100 trees total, and then of course the derecho came through and took another 60 out for us. So we did lose a lot of trees in the last year. But with that, gave us space to work and room to move the channel banks back to about a 3 and 4 to 1 slope. And then the bottom picture is a little harder to see. You can see we armored with riprap. We armored the angles every time it turned so that hopefully we don't see the creek migrating more in the future. So the existing bridge that is no longer there, so I guess I should call it the once existing bridge, but and then that's the historic bridge we were going for. I've got a couple photos that will show you what we ended up with, and hopefully you'll agree we came pretty close. And then scope 4 was the sanitary sewer line that I showed you earlier. That's a picture in the middle there that actually shows that stuff does flow downhill. So that's coming from the library to the new main. So Matt's had a chance to examine that all he wants and has seen it move downhill. So you can keep going. That is a picture of the stormwater basin as it was at the time. Sorry, it's 2 pictures put together. That's the best I could do. But that shows the weir that we built. So it's now an off-channel basin. So the creek runs right behind that yellow arrow, the long horizontal arrow. And the whole idea is, sorry, I didn't mean to. So that is a bend in the creek. And if we've done our math right, that is where the creek will overflow deliberately into the basin during high flow events. So, okay. That's the stream corridor for 1948 versus our reconstructed corridor. So you can see people are happy, and we hope people will be happy along the creek one day again. So, but I think we came pretty close in terms of slope and angle. So, and again, that's a blend of grass that we'll be able to mow to keep it at a decent height. One of the added benefits of this project that we were surprised with, we had independently been working towards monitoring sound in the park for years. And it started with a teacher ranger teacher, a program where a school teacher came and worked for us for a summer, and she just had a decibel meter and would go out and measure decibel sounds in the park. And that evolved into, we have a natural sounds office in Denver that we fed that information to. And a couple of years later, they came and monitored the sound in the park. And they did a 33-day study where they were able to figure out in terms of frequency, all the different levels, all the different sounds that we were hearing and the percentage of time that we heard that sound. So that fed into this design because we knew we were going to have a lot of dirt to move. And it was illegal for us to move the dirt out of the park. So where were we going to put this dirt where it wouldn't damage the view shed of the park? So from that, we also worked with the Iowa Department of Transportation because they were talking about widening the interstate, and we didn't want to create a situation where snow drifting or something like that would occur out on the interstate. So they helped us design the berm that you see now. There's actually 2 berms, but that's the main one that goes horizontal to the interstate. And our estimate is that we will reduce the sound in the prairie. So the experience for school kids when they go through the prairie before this project was, imagine 30 school kids and 1 ranger, and the ranger's up front talking to the kids. Well, how much do you think the kid in the back heard? Probably very little. So we're hoping that the kid in the back will be able to hear now. So it should have a very positive impact on the wildlife that occurs out there, especially the migratory birds. We should see more nesting after the prairie gets reestablished. So, which will take a couple of years to do. So that's just a picture of how the berms ended up. Now, remember, this year we only planted oats just to keep the prairie from being overcome with weeds. So they were planted with oats deliberately, knowing they would just die off. And then about a month ago, December, so end October, the contractor came back and planted the prairie seed. We did not want that seed to germinate until spring. So all of that seed's now been planted, and it's just kindly waiting until spring to do its thing. So it's going to take a couple of years just of mowing it, deliberately mowing it to get it to establish. And then we'll try to bring in prescribed fire in year 3 or 4. So that'll be vital to really bringing the prairie back to life. So that's the old wall on the left that fed off of the south end of Downey Street Bridge in front of the statue of Isis, just to help you locate where it was. And that is the wall that we came up with. So every stone that was removed was taken back to a warehouse, cleaned and scraped of its old mason, any of the cement debris, and then cut in half. So the new wall is actually a cement wall that has been faced with the stone from the old wall. So it still has the historic material attached to it. The new wall was geolocated with GPS every 5 feet or 10 feet to make sure that we put it back exactly in the same spot as the old one. So it took a lot of labor to do that. And then there's no sanitary sewer line. So I guess that's what I'm showing you there. So then there's a new sewer, a new water line that are completely out of the creek now, so that it is no longer in danger of breaking. That's just a picture of the view of what we had to what we have. And I think it's pretty close. I mean, the bridge is obviously cement now and it's different, but we didn't, in terms of trying to keep the park looking relatively the same as what it should, it still does. There's fewer trees now, so you can see through to the meeting house, you can see through to the library museum. So much better sight lines in the park. So that's the old bridge on the, or the original bridge on the left. Now, keep in mind, there wasn't any as-built drawings for us to use of that bridge. So it was 1917, I believe. I have to look that up now. But That's the original bridge that was there on Downey Street. So our engineers had to take that picture, and in order to elongate the bridge so that we wouldn't be a water constriction anymore, a constriction point, they had to make it longer, but they also had to make it taller because Department of Transportation rules are different now than they used to be. So, which also means that each finial had to change in the middle of it. And we had to make it so that you can't pass, I believe it's a, David gonna help me, 4 or 5 inch, 4-inch sphere. Take a ball basically and pass it through the bridge at any point so that the kid's head doesn't get stuck. So, because kids will poke their heads through it. So, so that was a challenge as well. But I think it came out pretty close to what the original look was. And again, just another shot of a historic picture of the bridge to what we ended up with today. There are stainless steel bars in between the finials to make it so that we do pass the IDOT rule there, but those will patina over time and blend in. You won't be able to see them as well. Originally, the estimate was 6.36 million, went up to 6.96 million. Once we got to the point of construction, however, through the bid process, qualitative and quantitative review of the bids, we are currently sitting at finishing this project at 3.79 million. So we did pretty good. The balance doesn't stay in the park. It gets washed away to another park, another project. So just so you know, kind of the effect of what we hopefully have done here is the bottom line, the reduction line is what I'm most interested in. For a 5-year event, we estimate that we've probably improved by 20% the reduction of flow, 10-year about 30%, but then it because that kicks in the detention basin basically, and then we start to see a relative decline in value. I guess it goes from 30 down to 14 to 7. So what we've done is the best we could do with the geography we had to work with. We made the basin as big as we could. We studied making it larger by moving the Thompson Farm Drive, but there's also a water supply line from your water tower that runs through there, and we can't go over that. So we were restricted in our both topography and the way the hill set was, but also in just what was in the ground to our west. So that's the best we can do. But for the money that we spent, we figure we have improved the situation for the more nuisance floods, the 2 and 3 times a year floods that we would experience that would close the park and fill the park up with sediment. So beyond that, we're going to be a victim of circumstance like the rest of us, like everyone else.
Pete, real quick, when we had a meeting at the fire station, what they kind of said was, so you're saying what your stuff is doing, but they said in order for there to be a real big change, we had to do our part, correct?
Right. And my benefit, I will benefit from what the city does beyond Second Street Bridge. So that is best case scenario, that if the city continues the work beyond our work downstream, it's the saying we've heard us say before, that a bathtub is only as good as its drain. So if that work is complete, then the fire department will benefit, police and fire department will benefit from it.
And it'll help you considerably.
Right. Yes. What we've done, just to be clear, what we've done really only impacts mostly from Downey Street Bridge west.
Yeah.
That's where the work was done. I mean, yes, we widened the creek up to Second Street, and so there's a little capacity and volume there, but then it's going to quickly come back up to a narrow creek right there at Second Street. So what we've done is the best we can do for the Hoover Birthplace Cottage, and the and Friends Meeting House will benefit a little bit, but the library and museum will benefit as well. So if you're interested in, I'm kind of a geek, I like numbers. So that's your numbers, 120,000 cubic yards of excavation. That's I could spend all day looking at that and get excited about it, but you've got the PowerPoint. You can study it tonight after city council meeting. So, not to forget the work that the city's done in the past, the Hoover Dam, 2013, the Stormwater Utility Fund that you did in 2014, the modeling that was done in 15, the Lower Cedar Watershed Management Authority in 17, and your consistent goal setting. I haven't updated those bullets, but your consistent goal setting of keeping stormwater on your radar is very much appreciated and actually fed into the viability of us doing this project. So if there wasn't a commitment on the part of the city to help improve the stormwater and the situation in this town, then I would have had a lot more difficulty obtaining funding to do what has been done in the park. So I think that's just nerd stuff for me. So that's what I've got. And like I said, I know it seems like it's been a constant pounding the same drum about stormwater, and I'm glad we've still got a warranty period for the work that is being done in the park. There's still some stormwater drain lining that's going to happen in the park. Some trees that didn't make it. We planted 60-ish trees back of the 100 that were lost and from the project, and some of those didn't make it with the drought. So they're going to be replanted because they're under warranty. So in the spring, they'll be replanted. And then there's the prairie, establishing the prairie and the turf areas in the park. So
Is the stream gauge still there?
stream gauge is not there any longer. It was getting costly in the park for the information we were getting out of it. And it was to the point where it was actually equaled one of our the salary I would pay a seasonal employee for 6 months of work is what it was costing me to maintain it. So
It was very valuable with the time it had.
it,
Right.
yeah,
It helped with the modeling.
it did. It helped with the modeling. And when we had to make the decision to remove it, it was basically, we've done everything we can do in the park for stormwater at this point. So
All right. I'm glad it went so well. The construction I thought was minimally invasive to the city and the streets, and I thought it went really well.
yeah, I think we had a successful project and big project. A lot of engineers involved, different types of disciplines of engineers, sound and hydrologic and earth and all. It was fun. Put it all together.
We'll do everything we can to do our part
Appreciate it.
farther downstream.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Pete. All right, up next is Nick Shimmon's going to give his annual library report. Somewhat abbreviated. Not as many charts and graphs as in previous years.
That's
Okay, so I have a printout version here for you. I know I prefer paper versions of things still. So first of all, thank you for letting me speak. I know this has already been a long meeting, so I'll try and keep it relatively short, even though I tend to talk a lot. As I said, normally we do, or as has been said, we normally have a lot of comparative numbers, and saying this year was like this other one because of this and that. But this year was completely different. And I'll let you know right away that a lot of our numbers, statistics were not the same as the prior years. So this is just going to be an outlier for quite a while. Okay. So there are certain things that I have to tell you in regards to what we're required to do for the, by the city code. This is our collection size and circulation put together itself better in the paper version, but it kind of goes up and down on this side. So our physical item circulation was about 12,800, almost 12,900. We estimate that about 6,800 were pulled directly by request. So the library staff processed about a little over half of those directly. Our physical item collection is standing around 16,000, which is actually fairly low. In part, that's because of things no longer being used. For instance, when VHS tapes stopped being used, we pulled VHS tapes. Now people are looking for articles online, so they don't read magazines. So we don't have as big of a magazine collection. I think the next step is probably DVDs. This year, of course, we didn't have a lot of DVDs made because people weren't going into theaters, and so they weren't putting them on the DVDs. But now, still, they're releasing movies into streaming formats. So I think that's kind of where the race is away from DVDs, is just direct streaming. We had a great year for electronic circulation. We knew at the start of the pandemic that electronic was going to be big, so we started funneling a lot of money directly into electronic materials. The electronic collection as a part of our statewide consortium is now almost to 90,000 items. So it's a pretty good size collection at this point. Also give some credit in terms of circulation to my staff, like Becky and Melissa, going out twice a week doing stacks of books during the Park and Rec and Library on the Go. And really just kind of getting out of the library and helping get materials to people. We've offered homebound delivery for years and years, and really never had very much take to it. And since the pandemic started, of course, then that's been of more interest. And so I do drop off and pick up pretty regularly, which is great. I'm glad that people are making use of it. I did mention the electronic use. You can see that we had another jump up of about 25% from 2020 to 2021 in electronic use. We started at the start of the pandemic using downloadable video service called Canopy. Again, we knew right off that people were going to be inside more, so we started putting some money towards that. It's a pay to view service, so that works really well budgetarily, meaning we don't have to pay for it unless people use it. So it's great. It focuses a lot on artistic and documentaries, things that have won awards, educational series. I use it a lot for the Great Courses series. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. They advertise in magazines and on certain TV channels. I've gone through gardening, trying not to kill our plants up at the library, investing myself personally, for myself personally, which was taught by a Duke University professor. They're basically college courses that they've taught that they film and put on there. They've also got a great series of children's animated picture books for anybody with kids. They were just purchased by our downloadable ebook service. So I'm curious to see what happens with there. Maybe they'll put on some more what you would consider like a popular movie type of thing. The setup movies, so maybe that'll help. We also started subscribing to an online tutoring service just because we thought kids might need help during the pandemic. They actually offer one-on-one tutoring. It looks like we had about 80 to 100 uses during the past fiscal year. We no longer directly provide that service. We don't subscribe to it because the state started subscribing to it for all the libraries. So that worked out nicely. I'm required to tell you what we added and removed from the collection. As you can see, 2021 was pretty minimal. Again, not as much stuff was coming out, so we didn't have to remove as much stuff. You have to make way for stuff coming in, so that stayed about the same. It wasn't a huge year for that in any regard. Program attendance is actually still pretty interesting. We only had 9 in-person programs, which we started towards the end of the spring, early summer. Still had some great in-person attendance. It was great to see some packed story times again, which we held outside at the start of the summer. We're of course moving back into in-person in library programs right now. We had a ton of virtual programs over the winter, anything from virtual story times. I think you've got a picture there from me directly. Had our share of virtual story times with my daughter, sitting and watching Becky read stories. There was a routine group of us that participated in that. We had some adult level virtual speakers. We actually had one of the ghost hunters in October last year. We had a woman talking about investing in stocks and bonds and mutual funds. I ran a Dungeons and Dragons group for teens, which has some really interesting stories to it. If you want to hear some crazy, like what would a teen do in this sort of instance. But it was a lot of fun. I kind of missed that. Becky kept up on the virtual classroom visits, kept in touch with all of the classes still. This year she's been going over to the school in classrooms directly. Hopefully next year maybe they'll be able to start coming back over to the library. We did a lot of outdoor stuff as well. I got to do the Hoovers Movers running group as well. Just to keep in mind, we had 5,500 virtual attendance and 432 in-person attendance, which is about almost 6,000. Normal program attendance for a library our size, just period without the pandemic, is around 2,700. So we're still double that. We're usually in the top 3% in the country in terms of program attendance, and I don't imagine that we'll see much change from that this year, because that's still outstanding for a library our size. Income, boring money stuff. City of West Branch maintained about the same. Cedar County actually went up. Our rural circulation was doing pretty well, so we went upwards in what we got from the Cedar County, from the county board of supervisors. The things that were down were the in-person use stuff. So the print copy fees, which was supposed to offset the use of our printer, copier, and fax machine, went down because the expenditures for that went down. And then our donations went down a little bit too, just because people weren't coming in the same way that they were before. Expenditures, normally, staffing is about 2/3 of it. Collections has stayed about the same over a couple of years. This is actually a little less because again, things weren't coming out, so we were putting money into other things. Building upkeep is still kind of high. I'm going to talk about aging building. Utilities, of course, going up, and then programs were actually a little lower than normal because we weren't buying supplies and food and all that. So that didn't cost quite as much. So one of the things that I have to talk to you about is building status. One of the things that we replaced this year was our book return. A book return is one of those things that it's small. You look at it and say, oh, that's not that bad. There, when you see the price tag, are one of the things that you say, oh my God, that can't possibly cost as much as it does. But there are not many companies that do it, so they get to kind of set the price of what they charge for book drops. As you can see on the upper right picture, the floor was starting to rust and cave in, which caused the door to drop, which caused the latch to stick. And by stick, I mean just it wouldn't come. So we did have to eventually replace that, and I've got some more rusty pictures of it if you want. But it was, I believe it was original to the construction of that building, so got a good 30 years out of it. In terms of money, what I did want to say that right before that, in May of 2020, we did have to replace our fire monitoring system, which was about 150% of what our total building maintenance line item is just in itself. Luckily, this kind of fit into our budget kind of. It helped a lot that we weren't spending as much money in other areas, that we were able to fit that in. This year, our automatic door openers have broken each one of the two that we have to replace is 130% of our building maintenance line. We'll probably, we're planning on using our savings CDs for those, but the building maintenance is starting to increase. We may need, depending on how the overall fund balance goes, we may need a budget amendment for that coming up. Outdoor seating area, this is part of our past strategic plan. As you can see, we have wonderful soil, full of bricks and a little bit of rebar, some metal plates, a lot of rock, sand. This was done by from a community foundation of Cedar County grant with the Friends of the Library. So that's all paid for through that grant. It'll be a wonderful area of shade and flowers and outdoor seating when it's done. But yeah, the soil of the library never ceases to amaze me. We also hit a pipe, a random ceramic pipe. We have no idea what it is, but it's there. We also, along the sidewalk on the north part here, it also runs the old middle school foundation, which I hit, and it's there still. So that was fun. The library board is looking at replacing at least this top section of stairs, which is continuing to get old and crumble. You can see the top starting to go there. This is one of the bottom areas, which is starting to fall out, of course, containing the handrails there. The handrails have been painted multiple times and are pretty well rusted through. We at least need to look at the handrails on the bottom section. You can see that you may be a little concerned about why the shadow doesn't quite meet up with the bottom of the handrail, and that's because there's a gap of about 6 inches between the bottom of the handrail and the actual cement that was cut out when that other section was done. You can see twisting at the bottom areas as those parts have also begun to rust. They're a little bit closer to the street, and probably it's a little bit of that salt, sand, brine hit on them as well. How we're going to do that process, we don't know yet. We're going to talk about that at the library board meeting next week, next Tuesday. But yeah, that'll be an expensive project, so we'll have to discuss that. Coming up this next year, I'm looking forward to the next year. This year, even though it was a weird year, it was an extremely busy year and still really interesting and fun. We start a new strategic plan. I won't tell you any details about that because hopefully over the next 2 meetings, I'll give you a presentation on the new strategic plan, which I'm like really excited about. Continued service expansion outward. One of the things that hasn't gone away and probably won't go away is providing service outward from the community, or outward from the library into the community, holding programs in different spaces, holding stuff outside. We had a ARPA grant from the state library, which is paying for a book bike that we should get early spring, which I'm super excited about. That actually came from our old strategic plan way before the pandemic. Anyway, we wanted to get out and provide services to families and daycares that couldn't necessarily make it to the library. We have a teen group, teen advisory committee that's starting to meet, and so they're coming up with some ideas, and I want to see some really cool ideas to get that the older the post middle school group, high school, but once they start getting into those high school activities, we sort of start to lose some of the kids. So I want to see them come up with some cool ideas that will bring other kids in. And then of course the city participating in the community visioning process. I'm a big fan of planning and seeing what the community wants from us. So I love that idea. So I'm looking forward to being part of that. And of course, just kind of coming back to normal from pandemic. So that's what I have for the evening. Does anybody have any questions?
First of all, you didn't mention anything about the library's involvement in taking care of the flowers on Main Street and stuff. And I've seen hours and hours and hours of Mr. Nick out there working on flowers. And It's appreciated.
Thanks. That was one of the things too. We wanted to make sure that the downtown kept going through the pandemic. You lose one business, you lose a family. They can't go to other businesses, you lose another family. And it just kind of cascades, so.
And then the second thing I want to talk about is the steps, because that's not the first time we've talked about those. And I think, Matt, did you do some repairs on them at one point?
There were some just small repairs.
So I don't, if we know that their building maintenance is strapped, that's a pretty expensive repair, and it's also a liability if it doesn't get fixed. So I think maybe as a city, that's something that we ought to step in and address, whether we utilize our public works to help or something, but that's something needs to be addressed.
May have to be a ramp. If we're gonna tear all that out and rebuild it, it should probably be a ramp.
Are those on the back, or
I agree with you.
those on the back side,
Well, technically the front, but the Downey side.
the Downing Street side, or,
Yeah. So not this side, but
Those are the same steps from our middle school
oh,
down to the street.
those ones?
Remember
Oh,
those back in that
But
oh,
I mean,
okay.
that's an awful big project to put on, their little budget. What we
Yeah,
asked them to do with that building, I think it might be something.
Nick's been working real hard digging and hitting everything. Rocks, foundation, pipe, so he's been a little bit frustrated, but that's life up there on the hill, I think.
day. Definitely burial.
Very
Building.
foundation. Okay, thank you, Nick, for your hard work. This is, as usual, and your staff to be commended, something to be very proud of. Thank you. Okay, we'll move into our consent agenda, non-consent agenda. Starting with a second reading of ordinance 785, providing that general property taxes levied and collected on certain lots in the meadows, part 4A, be paid to a special fund for payments on loans in connection to the West Branch Urban Renewal Area. I need a motion, please. We do this as an ordinance every year?
To set the base value on these lots, you do, yes.
We're setting the base.
So we're gonna
value.
set these, this is gonna be an ordinance on this subdivision for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
So
It's built
we're
out.
capturing the whole time.
Any other comments, questions? 10 or 12 lots with duplexes and homes. Hearing none, let's go ahead and vote. Leslie?
Councilperson Miller,
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Stulman,
Yes,
Dean.
Yes.
All right, first reading of ordinance 786, amending the traffic and vehicles, chapter 69, parking regulations. Move to action, please. You need a motion.
So moved.
Second, Colton. Corey's been working hard on. Is this in, this is in Parkside Hills, right? Yeah. Parkside Hills only, correct? Yeah. So Corey's been working hard on finding out where. This is parking. No parking. Lost myself here. So basically outlines where allow parking will be. I wish I had a map, but
Just pass it this time. and
yeah, I think.
Look at the map and
Give us a map next time.
check Corey's work
Yeah.
and make sure he didn't drop the
I
ball.
don't think we
on
need to
something.
completely. but- Okay, so I got a motion in a second. This will be a 3 reading item, so go ahead, Leslie.
Councilperson Dean,
Yes.
Miller,
Yeah,
Stulman,
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
All right, ordinance 787, amending traffic vehicles, chapter 65, stop or yield required, move to action. Motion, please. Jerry and Nick. Same thing, there's only a couple places a stop sign is needed. So, wait. 6, yeah. Is
Where's Hickory?
that the private drive? Yeah.
Well, I know, but I mean,
It's a private one.
oh, that's the private one. All right.
So there'll be a stop sign as you come out of that. Let's vote, Leslie.
Councilperson Sexton?
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
Miller?
yeah.
Dean?
Yes.
I just got a quick question.
Go ahead.
How come we don't do this for the other subdivisions when they come up? I don't remember ever doing this for like,
Yeah, we did the Meadows after the fact,
Yeah, we did.
well after the fact.
We kind of did them individually on the meadows as they came up.
We thought we needed another stop sign.
We didn't, I don't think
Yeah.
we did.
We
yeah.
did, because
We don't need it.
that's when it got brought up.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Did we?
I don't know why we don't do this at the preliminary stages.
it ought to be in, just in the plat. It ought
Yeah,
to be
that's
all
what I
there.
agree. Save Corey a lot of work.
You have to have it in your code or you can't enforce it.
Correct.
Oh,
Yep.
right.
Sorry.
Okay. All right, resolution 2052, approving the submission of the city of West Branch fiscal year 21 annual financial report to the state's auditor's office, which Heidi has prepared. Motion, please. And Nick will second. That was a traffic.
Street urban renewal reports, everything's due on streets, street finance, you name it. we've done.
Street finance.
I haven't even looked at this. I don't even know how I'd understand it completely anyway.
It's an all funds report for fiscal year 21. So it's any balances.
Yeah. June
June
30th.
30th.
Yeah. Not going over right. Do I get a motion in a second? Okay, all right. Don't know what else to do. Well, let's vote, Leslie. I feel like I'm shortchanging you, cheating you out of all the work you've done on it. Not even discussing it. Let's vote.
Councilperson Dean?
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. See, I think you're doing her,
A favor?
yeah, by not.
Not
you
making her
trust what
explain
she's
anything?
doing and you're not.
I agree.
questioning her.
All right. Resolution 2057, approving Parkside Hills Lot 9 site plan. Motion, please. Nick in 30 seconds. This is Hickory Drive. Been approved by P and Z. Pretty much what's been planned from the very beginning. This is what's been planned from the very beginning. Any questions, comments?
As soon as it's gonna start.
Probably have to spring that.
Are you kind of do it in phases or kind of do all at once?
Don't know.
I'll find a framer. Everybody, gotta find everybody.
Yep.
Schedule, get them on the schedule. Okay, pardon? Mailbox, I don't know if they're in, but there's a place for them, the mailboxes.
Yeah, we had all that laid out. I'm trying to think a couple meetings ago.
That's what I thought, so I was just.
Yeah, we laid out for the whole subdivision.
So we seem to forget. the
Yeah,
mailbox.
forget the mailbox.
Yeah, no, they're.
So I wanted to make sure I brought it up, and I thought we did. So
They're
I
up
was
on
just double
8 Elm
checking.
Street,
Okay, that's what I thought.
into that sidewalk.
Yep, just double check. You always tend to miss that. and Wonder where we're gonna put
What
it.
we
at
need to
the
do in
end
the
of day.
future though is make a pull off, paved pull off for those mailboxes, so. Park in the street. Get them in.
Baby steps, Roger.
We'll
Making
learn.
sure they're
We're
even
learning.
there now.
They got mailboxes.
Okay, let's vote on lot 9, please.
Councilperson,
Reagan, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are you gonna do with 10? Just curious.
I'm sorry, what?
It's coming
10,
eventually.
Oh, lot 10. We'll probably submit that in the next, I'd say, month and a half, 2 months. We'll see how quickly we can get it done. Storage facility.
I was just curious if it's gonna be like a park or, because you really can't.
Not a park. Okay, let's vote, please, Leslie.
Councilperson Goodweiler,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Stulman.
Yes,
Okay, resolution 2058, approve Parkside Hills Lot 12. Site plan.
Those are
Motion,
like the
motion,
same one as 9.
close. Need a motion, please. Jerry and Nick a second. Once again, it's as proposed months ago.
Keep your mailbox, I don't see one on this one.
There it is. Number 4.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
As off-street parking, just as planned.
these 3-story high.
No, ranch is in 2 stories. From the backside of, we have a few that will look that way from Hickory Drive. There's some of them where the grade transfers down so much that there'll be drive under garage, and then you'll have 2 stories above that. So from the street side, we have some drive unders on that one, but these are all ranch and 2-story. So.
Was 9 or those? the
Yeah,
same way
so-
then? They'll be-
So the drive under garages are actually on, it'll be on the back here on Sycamore Drive, I believe, and then on Hickory Drive. That the garages will face the
Oh,
east, just
Okay.
because of grade change. Oh, yeah, I guess, I don't know if anybody's seen any of that stuff yet or not. Sure. I've done these buildings in a similar project.
I see.
Yeah, where the grade drops off and then you back it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, I was just curious.
Yep.
Just I guess you go to P and Z.
Already been
No, she's saying she should go.
there.
I said I should go to P.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I do once in a while.
Yeah.
Really excited. I got a motion, right? Okay, any other comments, questions? Go ahead, Leslie.
Councilperson Sexton,
Yes.
Goodweiler?
Yeah.
Miller,
Yes.
Stulman,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
All right. You're ready for construction. Resolution 2059, directing the clerk to publish notice of hearing on the adoption of the proposed code of ordinances of the city of West Branch, Iowa. Need a motion, please.
So
Nick will second. So this is a codification that Leslie's worked very hard on. Back and forth with the codifiers. 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years, 2 long years. Yeah, so this next, this will be setting the public hearing. It'll be published next week in the paper. We'll have our public hearing on the 20th, along with the ordinance of the first reading. It'll be an ordinance, 3 readings. So we'll do our first reading on the 20th. I do have a copy, actually have 3 copies here in the office for public inspection. So anyone can come in and take a look at it. There were a lot of legislative changes we hadn't recodified since 1999. So you can imagine there's quite a few things that needed to be updated, along with staff reviewing individual sections. We finally got through all of the changes, and we'll continue to make annual updates going forward so we don't get behind.
So the best thing about this is it's a searchable
Yes,
on the website.
it will be searchable on the website. I did receive the bill today, but I haven't received the link. So as soon as I get the link, I'll get Nick to get it on the website, and that when you click on it, it'll be the new. It'll take you to the new code.
So like if I just type in a word, it will.
It's also gonna have the chapters broken down, so you'll be able to, if you're looking for a particular
That's what I
chapter, you can
need.
put there too. So now, if you do a word search, you might come up with a lot of different words, because the word might be used multiple times.
It's gotta be smart. Smarter
You'll
than
you'll be able to
me.
use it really
So
well.
gotta know what I'm thinking.
This is the final step in the process.
Good, yeah. Leslie will be really. Okay, I got a motion in a second. Any other questions, comments? Go ahead, Leslie.
Councilperson Miller,
yes,
Goodweiler?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Stulman?
Yes,
All right, number 8, resolution 2060, approving an employee salary adjustment. This is for Corey, and Chief Hannah. Give me a motion, please. So moved. Nick seconded. So Corey was hired on about a year ago, and under the was supposed to have a review, which didn't happen, and then I was supposed to do a review, and I just got busy and with all the changeover. Adam probably said something, but I did not give Corey a review, but I told him if that doesn't happen, you're still gonna get your raise, $2,000. So I apologize to everyone for failing to do the obligatory review, which probably should have been on me since we lost our city administrator. And, any other comments?
was it budgeted?
Yeah. I think so. Why am I looking at Heidi? Shoot.
That is, I don't know either.
Yeah, Corey wouldn't know.
Well, this is.
Well, actually, he should know, because he does his budget.
Well, I'm officially giving him a favorable review and right now, and that is the parameter to get the raise. I told him.
that must have
Should
been
be no way.
budgeted because it was in his contract.
Okay, we'll go with that.
We would have rolled it in last year's fiscal year.
Guess we'll find out if it was budgeted or if we're out of money. That's all. $2,000 short.
$2,000
It's
is gonna break us.
really, we're gonna be in trouble.
Let's vote,
We're in
Leslie.
bigger trouble.
Okay, who did the motion?
Nick seconded.
Yeah, said I guess.
That's right. Councilperson Dean,
Yes.
Goodweiler,
Yes.
Stulman,
Yes,
Miller,
Yes,
Sexton.
Yes.
Okay, item 9, where are we at? Discussion items, things. Wellmark rates have gone up. We've been pretty lucky for a number of years. I don't know what we're gonna do about it, but insurance rates have gone up 20-some%. We're still in the really good plan. Grandfathered in. Can't explain it, I guess. Combination of claims and atmosphere, climate, insurance climate.
COVID deaths.
COVID. Go ahead, Heidi.
Well, it was due to two factors, the base rate change and demographics.
Yeah.
So the base rate change is for small employer groups with Alliance Select Plan, which is the one plan that we have that we're grandfathered in. It was at 8%. So every city or every small employer who has Alliance Select Plan had this increase of 8%. Now the demographics, that's where it is to our group. And that was a 13.12% increase, and that's age, gender, and contract type.
Well, it almost don't make sense though, because we're, as a city, we're actually getting younger. Our employees are getting younger.
They
I
look
mean,
at
when
it.
Gordon's total age, we hired 3 people that didn't add up to that.
Oh, Neil.
So we're looking at year prior, and year prior, from what I understand, there was still some people that were at the higher age group.
And he was not on the health.
And he was not on the health plan, right? So looking forward, Colton, though, yes, we're gonna have a younger employee group.
Good.
But we're looking backwards, so this is the year prior to.
It might too.
Well, that's,
We
he
already
was
some
still
big
part of,
numbers.
yeah, he was still part of the new rate.
I knew 4 cities and nobody had, the lowest we had was 15%, and that's for a city with 270 employees.
Was it last year we only went up about 5%? We were all-
Yeah, we've been pretty lucky. We went down one year and went up one year.
I also got like a history of what we've done since 2015,
It was
Um,
coming.
Everybody.
and it's been pretty small, except for 1 year, but yeah.
Okay, so
So what does that result in the overall change?
I'm sorry.
what's changed?
No, the total
Well,
money.
what's gonna, how much
Total
extra
money.
dollars? How many extra dollars?
So what for the
1,000.
employee, for the family, health portion, the difference is gonna be $52.51 per pay period. Extra. That's in the dental, it's gonna be 86 cents.
So what's our portion gonna go up? I mean, you know,
The
the
employer.
city
part-
as a whole, how much more are we going to?
So for the employer part for health, it's gonna go up per pay period, right? So there's 2 pay periods.
I'm looking overall, what do we have to
The
budget?
city.
How much more do we have to budget? That's what
So
I'm looking for.
it's gonna be about an extra $1,500 per month.
Per month,
Per month.
18,000.
But Jody, we have plenty of money in our employee benefits account.
Good.
So it's not gonna be
Yes,
a problem.
there's a big pool that we can pull from.
Right.
Yeah, there's nothing, I mean, there's nothing we can do about it.
It's nice.
Just another one of those things. Nothing we can do about it.
Okay.
That's right, that's
for us
right.
To do.
The way that works is there's like a levy, isn't there, that we charge
Correct.
for our benefits? And what she's saying is there's, must be always money left over there, so we're good. It's not gonna actually cost us anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not gonna,
Except what do we do with that leftover money at the end of the year that we normally was getting to keep?
What do we do with that money?
Yeah.
Or what? I'm sorry.
So if we're levying for more money for our benefits than we're actually spending, at the end of the year, when we haven't spent that money, where's that money go?
It stays there.
It's still there.
So just the.
It just
count
keeps
continues
on
to
going.
go.
Yeah, and this
It'll-
is something I've talked to
It'll,
Roger about.
Good.
it'll weather a few more storms,
Okay, that's
Yes.
quite a few more storms.
what I like to hear.
It's pretty large. But it's only for this.
It's only for employee
Only for this,
benefits.
yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Can't be used for anything.
Thank you. All right, city administrator report.
Good to be home. Thank you, staff and council and the mayor for selecting me as the candidate. I'm going to be your next city administrator. For sake of time, work sessions, when have we typically done those, Roger, or council? Or
Work
what's
sessions
the
for budget?
preference? Correct.
The off Mondays is when we usually have done them. We don't like doing them before or after.
Just
so
run out of time.
Tried them
this
before,
meeting.
after, but it didn't work out.
You just get
well.
tired of it by the time.
Yeah, I
So-
think off
And
Mondays.
then do you start earlier, same time,
I'd
like
to start
5:30?
earlier.
Okay. So if we do tentatively Monday, January 10th, 5:30. Okay.
I bought last time.
We all pitched in.
Yeah.
I had some of it back.
You're gonna wait till January?
Yeah, we always wait.
You do?
We don't get our numbers until
Oh,
February.
yeah, that's
and
right.
I tell
We
you
gotta
by
get from the
March, you
state.
got-
Oh, yeah, we always say, why are we doing it with other numbers? That's right.
End of December, typically we'll know what our new assessed values are, and that's what it's gonna let us know what our revenues are. So
January, what?
10th, 5:30.
Figure a couple hours, maybe.
How many questions you have?
Depends on how prepared you have it for.
Yep, yep.
Is staff invited?
Yeah, so typically what I'll have, and I'll talk a little bit more with staff, but you know, their presentation will be a quick 5 minutes. You got a question? If not, it'll be in and out. Most of the questions will probably be for me and Heidi would be my guess, just because that's where your capital projects are gonna be and things like that, so. Yes.
Okay, what's the goal of this meeting then to accomplish?
To, number one, I guess part of it would be my first budget with you guys would be number one. Number two, I would hope it would help you guys understand what's in the budget a little bit better. So,
We be hearing from department heads prior to that? In any way?
not necessarily, unless there's something you guys need to know.
What about? We've always, in the past, it's been very painful with salary increases,
Correct,
COLA increases.
correct,
It's always
correct.
been painful.
Well, and we're another year through this and we're still no closer to our merit pay than we
Oh,
were
that's right.
You
than we
don't
were
know
last year.
what the COLA is already. Be ready.
It's 5.9.
Yes.
5.9 is the COLA, projected COLA.
It's.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
That's-
Higher than
So-
at least Walmart. 3 or 4 years ahead.
So we got a decision to make there. Well, we honor that
Good.
or compromise somewhere. What else? Do I- Once again, at that meeting, we're gonna, that gives us 2 more meetings or 3 to finalize the budget.
Correct. And there'd still be time for if there's another work session needs to be done or anything like that. But January gives me plenty of time to get some feedback and make sure we're
Um,
prepared for February.
So do we want to do a goal setting?
We've already had that. That was what I was just gonna ask.
It's right up there on the board.
Yeah, have you been?
I was
through our-
gonna, yeah, and that's kind of what I was talking about. Sake of time, I was gonna add those and things that we didn't get done last year in that strategic plan, just for the sake of time. But yes, in December, typically, we would do something, because that's gonna help me prepare for the budget.
Those are pretty cut and dry. It's the projects that seem, projects that we talk about that for Matt, that can take a lot of time and discussion.
So do we have to watch the water tower before we paint it again? I mean, do we have to watch the tower again before we paint it? That's what I'm asking.
Is there scheduled washing before the next time we paint? Right, because they're gonna wash it before they paint. But I mean, what you're wanting to know is, like, are we gonna wash it next year and then 3 years from now we're painting it? Is there another washing in the schedule, right?
Right. Do we wash it the same year that we paint it? Before we apply paint?
Well, they have to wash it to paint it.
There's a good chance that some of it'll be sandblasted anyway. It'll be.
We should hire that same company to wash it.
After it's painted, we will, in a few years after it's painted.
They
We'll
did a
think about
really
that.
good job and
Yeah.
fast. And
Okay, anything else from the administrator?
Just in the near future, Greg, we'll probably need your help. I know pretty soon we'll have the fire department starting to advertise volunteer positions, getting to the point where you're gonna see a major push from the city and the fire department. So just know volunteer situation is not great. And there's something we all have to do about it. Just we could use your help in the next month or two when Kevin gets his promotional video. I don't want too big of a push until Kevin and his guys are ready.
As big as an ad you want.
Okay.
Or an article? Will there be an article? There's my lobby for an article. Okay.
No.
City staff. Matt's in the room. Anything?
Matt, are you done with the Casey's parking, all that yet?
We still have to haul dirt in. We just hauled dirt in on Friday to put around the edges since they're gonna be looking for just down there. So.
Are you gonna put a sleeve in there in case he's conduit or
Oh,
something?
well, we're actually gonna leave that north end sidewalk out. I talked to Lion about getting people in there. And he's gonna be, Mark Malloy is gonna be over there and we're gonna kind of go through that and see what they're ending.
So I was talking to him about, first of all, if we're gonna put the mural there, we might want to have that lit. And then one of the other things I talked to him about was, we might not want to close it off, because I think it would be cool to put some electrical pedestals in there. So if we wanted to do like a food truck event, food trucks could park in that parking, and then they'd have electricity to plug in and stuff like that.
That'd be fine if it didn't have to put in a transformer. I don't know.
I think there's transformer bank kind of on the floor right there. And Mark acted like we could do something similar to what's downtown. Where it's just, I think there's a couple, it might be a 50 amp service and. then a couple more.
I'd be for that.
Our food trucks more self-contained.
and
And the ones we had during the days.
Require power.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Some of them do, some of them.
I was gonna say, it depends, some of them do something, some are self-contained.
Power this last summer with those. Because they had that power. Melissa. Okay, let's move on. Mayor and council. Can't think of anything I have to talk about.
I have a question for Dave.
Yeah,
Hey, have you heard any more movement on the Cedar Johnson intersection?
Good question.
You had to bring it up.
The agreement,
I don't want to miss this out.
Well, he's came just for that.
the agreement was reviewed and we passed that on to the Johnson County Attorney. I haven't heard anything back, but they are proceeding with the design.
Okay.
I have a call with Ryan tomorrow, so I will ask him.
Which one, AD?
He's the one that'll be reviewing it, so.
Do you think it'll be put out for bid then with completion next year?
Yes, they'll try to get that done next year in conjunction with their last phase of River Hoover Highway.
Perfect.
Just west of town.
Where are we sitting on the condemnation?
Waiting on the appraisal to come back so that they can proceed with that.
Okay, so we're still on track for that to
I
put a
will-
shovel in the
I
ground.
will have, I can have those done before, they can be done by March, so.
Also, a little wrinkle on that project is since we were awarded the sponsored project funds, or we were earmarked for sponsored project, we're still waiting for that to all come through. But I did talk with Earthview, Impact 7G. They changed their name recently. But worked with them a little bit on some concepts, and I think we can possibly use some of that money to do some creek, maybe meander the stream a little bit in that channel. And that'll pay for a large part of that earthwork. So there's a potential we could use those funds to help with that project to offset that cost a little bit.
But we have to wait till our sewer project's done before we can do that?
No, we can go ahead and do that. It's just we can
Okay.
get reimbursed for that through that sponsored project fund. So we're working on that whole structure of that project to see if we can use that to defray some of the city's costs so that we don't have an issue with trying to fund that and come up with money.
We're thinking of going all the way to Second Street. That
We are.
project.
We are looking at it. We have some properties there that are impacted as well, and we just need to figure out how willing they are and what the cost is.
Some of those people we need easements from.
Play hardball.
Yeah.
$1.
I'll be very cooperative, just like Greenview Connection.
Oh yeah, speaking of Greenview Connection. We taking the trees out next spring?
I'm ready anytime.
All right,
They should go.
straight through. I've heard several people say, oh, I just about got ran over. Somebody about him be coming up there. 'Cause they don't go around like a roundabout.
We talked about that this morning. We're gonna put a
We are gonna sign it.
an arrow,
Yeah, if that's something you guys wanna do.
but then we should straighten it out.
Yeah. Straight. Get rid of the trees and go straight through.
Oh,
Even if it's just-
say it ain't so. Really? That's how we're gonna do it?
Mhm.
All right, Dave.
Roger's tree went bye-bye, so that tree can go down too.
Well, roundabout, that didn't kill my tree, the wind did.
No.
Wasn't the city. I haven't replaced it with my little twig yet. Okay, anything else, anyone? Motion to adjourn,
So move.
Jerry seconds, all those in favor say aye.
All right.